buying a car with credit a bad debt?
Because a car is a depreciating asset.
It's a what?
I think we should go. That's the third time she has shushed us. Okay, let's go.
That librarian is mean.
She's just doing her job.
Some people really enjoy the quiet of the library. It makes it easier to concentrate on reading or writing.
So what was it that you guys were talking about there?
We were discussing how depreciating assets are a bad credit choice.
But I thought a car was an asset. That it was something of value.
It is an asset, but it's an asset that loses value over time.
That's true, Penny. Even my skateboard isn't worth as much as when I first bought it.
Can you believe that? Barry actually understands what you're talking about. I think he's been paying attention.
Well, excuse me. Well, maybe I can't remember all of the big words that Sense is always using, but I do understand some of the ideas.
I'm so proud of you, Barry.
Whatever.
Hey, that's my line.
Look, here comes Mr. Fortune.
He always knows when we're talking about money.
Penny, you're always talking about money. It just seems like he knows when you're talking about it.
Interesting. I think Barry is getting smarter every day.
Good afternoon, kids. How is everyone today?
We're fine, Mr. Fortune. How are you?
I'm doing fine also. Thank you for asking. So, what are we discussing today?
Money!
Well, I assume that would be the subject. Anytime I see the four of you together, I know you are usually discussing some sort of financial topic.
Told you so!
We were talking about how some things are bad debts because they lose value over time.
But wait a minute, I thought that buying things on credit was always a bad thing.
Well, most of the time using credit to buy things is not very wise. Buying clothing or games on credit, for example.
Or skateboards.
So, what determines if something is a good debt or a bad debt?
There are two words here that are important: asset and liability.
An asset is something that has value. It's worth money. Like my father's mentioned.
That's a good example, Susie.
Sometimes my uncle says that I'm a liability.
That's what he usually says when he has to take you to the hospital because you've broken your arm again while skateboarding.
Liability is something that costs you money. Usually when you buy something on credit, you've taken on a liability. It costs you money and is therefore a bad form of debt.
But sometimes using credit can be a good thing, right, Mr. Fortune?
There is some truth to that sense, but a person must be very careful. Anything bought on credit is a liability. However, some liabilities can be used to create value.
How is that possible? If you borrow money, you have to pay interest, and that means you're losing money.
That's a good point, Barry. I'm very proud of you. You're really starting to understand money.
Yep, he's getting to be very impressive. Whatever.
If a business can buy something that can earn that business money, then it can be like an asset, even though it's still a liability.
If it can earn more money for the business than the cost of the interest and loan payments, then it is making profit for the company.
A car, for instance, can earn money for a taxi cab company or for a delivery service because the car is allowing them to make money.
But since you said a car was not a good debt.
A car is not a good debt for a family. You're better off to buy a used car and pay cash. Not only do you have to pay for the loan and the interest, but the value of the car decreases over time. You're paying a lot of money for something that in the end isn't worth anything.
That's very true. In business, it's called a depreciating asset, even though it is really a liability. But acts like an asset because it helps the business to earn money.
So a good debt is one that can result in an overall profit, whereas a bad debt is one that causes an overall loss.
Well said, Susie.
What are you thinking about, Barry? I've seen that look on your face before. It usually means you're up to something.
So, Mr. Fortune, if I become a professional skateboarder, I can buy a new skateboard on credit and it'll be considered a good debt, right?
Oh, Barry, you'll come up with any excuse to buy a new skateboard.
Well, excuse me.
Hiya, Hiya, kids! Now let's talk about debts. It's something you owe someone, and it's created when a lender agrees to lend a sum of money to a borrower. Nowadays, a debt is usually given with expected repayment, plus interest. There are two types of debts, the good debt and the bad debt. A good debt is when you borrow money to invest in the things that will help you make more money. For example, a study loan, a house loan, or a business loan. A bad debt is when you borrow money to spend on things that decrease in value. Not only you have to pay interest, you will also lose money as the value decreases. For example, car loan, credit cards, or easy payment schemes. So before borrowing, always ask yourself, is it a good debt or a bad debt? Always choose good debt over bad debt.